Call the Village of Cache Creek regular council meeting of August 17th, 2020 to order. And the minutes of July 20th regular council meeting instead of special, is that how it should read?
It should say regular, yeah.
That should say regular.
Okay, so July 20th, 2020 regular council meeting, that the minutes be adopted as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, pick one.
Go ahead.
Any discussion? All in favor? Carried. Business arising from the minutes. One, committee reports, economic development, Councilor Peters and Councilor Cooney.
I just have two webinars that I took part in. One was a strategic budgeting seminar through SILGA. Really wasn't a lot other than it's a challenging time. People are, things like deferred taxes, Summerland cut operating, but not capital spending. They're doing some of the municipalities are doing budget reviewing at the end of September to see how much the COVID impact has had on the communities. And one of the things I learned was how much Logan Lake gets from the mine. I wish we had a mine. But, and that.
Was it 74% of their budget?
74% of their budget comes from the mine.
Ooh,
Yeah, and,
we better hope that line doesn't shut down.
yeah, and to make sure that everybody's looking at defined levels of service and the costs, and kind of anticipate where levels of service can be reduced if costs are rising, those kinds of things. And that most municipalities are getting ready on their strategic planning for next year. And then on the 29th, I participated in an EMBC webinar on response funding and how the correct ways to do it, which we had the quick and stressful lessons in on the run. The only thing I learned that we weren't doing was that when we were sending in our claims that we had to send copies of either the bank statements showing the checks had cleared or the copies of the canceled checks. And I guess in the past there have been bad guys that have gotten the money and then not paid the suppliers. And so that's why they do that. Kind of blew Christina and I away when we talked, when I came in, because she had just found that out the same day I did the webinar. So, and just a little bit of stuff on the proof of payment, payroll, how to do it. It was interesting because we have a way better handle on it than some of the bigger cities do, bigger municipalities do, which was really kind of, I was proud of us.
Yeah.
You know, we didn't, the questions they were answering, we had figured out, so. That's it for me. Oh, 2017 costs can still be claimed if we're using, if the things got missed. Things can still be claimed after the fact if they are considered response. So.
Oh boy.
So that might.
Go back in 2017.
I forgot about that one when I told you about that whole
That's
thing.
good to know, yeah.
And there was a few things that we didn't do that we were supposed to do. We were supposed to send in daily expenditure reports and those kinds of things, but we didn't have time for that. It's like, how much of your budget have you spent? Well, the contractors were also busy working. We didn't get bills. Sometimes I had to poke them to get them, so there was no way we could have done that anyway.
Well, UBC wasn't asking us for that
No,
information
I
either during
think
the event either.
they understood how below water we were for the first couple of weeks in
Budget? What's a budget?
Yeah, in our response and just trying to cope with dealing what was happening, never mind the accounting part of it. So that's it for me.
Looking further under economic development. Thank you. Budget and administrative
I guess that was
services.
more their budget, wasn't it? Oh, well.
Councilor Peters and Councilor Coomber again for budget and administrative services.
That's scary. Council to consider the draft 2020 annual report for the year 2019. I'll move that council provide input to staff for any changes necessary in the 2020 annual report. for the year 2019.
Discussion?
Just to let you know, you should have received these 2 pages. There's a minor change made to governance and planning. I had the new subdivision standard bylaw in 2021. I've moved it to 2020. Later on in tonight's agenda, you'll see that there's a proposal from True, and we'll consider it at that time. If there's anything else you see that is unclear, or that needs, that we need more, or that we need less, please let me know. We have to have as I put here, we have to adopt it by August 31st. The newspaper will be running 2 ads this week and next week. And at that time, we have our annual meeting and present the annual report. Normally, this is June 15th, but because of COVID, the province extended that deadline. And thank goodness, because with the flooding going on, it would have been pretty much impossible to meet that deadline.
So we have a meeting scheduled for August 31st at 7 PM.
Yeah, special meeting for the annual, it's called the annual meeting in the community.
And it's going to be here.
That's correct.
Annual meeting or annual report?
The annual meeting, it's an annual meeting, and at that meeting, we present the annual report.
Oh, we get an AGM too?
It's not an AGM, it's just an AM.
In the PM.
Policy and bylaw review, myself and Councillor Peters.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, can I bring up one thing under budget and administration?
Certainly.
Just an update on the community foundation. Since Councillor Peters is also with me on the budget and admin committee, I asked her if she would meet with me and Hugh from the BC Interior Community Foundation next week to discuss the details of what we might be looking at, and after that we would bring it to council with a better explanation and a better idea of what we're getting ourselves into.
Thank you.
I don't think there was actually a vote on the recommendation about accepting the annual report.
Correct, there was not. Not accepting the annual report to provide input was the motion. We need the
Who seconded
vote for that.
Was there a second?
Councillor
Yeah.
Defoe second.
Okay. All in favor?
Thank you, we would have figured it out before the meeting was over.
Thank you. Councillor Cameron. Anything further? Policy and bylaw review, myself and Councillor Peters. And council direct staff to move forward with the required enforcement of procedure bylaw 3/8/18/2020.
Second.
Discussion.
Just one concern with having the first council meeting on the first week of November. In 2022, it's okay, there's a 3-week gap between the election and that first meeting, but in 2026, and we have to look to the future, it's only 2 weeks. And if there's any dispute in the election, it might not be resolved by then.
I don't, I'll double check it, but I'm pretty sure that the community charter specifies that language, that same language.
Because we're changing it from the first Monday in November, or December to the first Monday in November, that's the proposed change.
That's
That
on page
was- That
61.
was already put in place.
That
with
was already
an
there.
earlier amendment bylaw.
That's a
Okay.
requirement.
So it's already,
for
it's
COVID.
already a
Okay.
requirement, yes, it's already a requirement for the
Ah.
province. I don't have the community charter language, but I'm pretty sure it's
Okay.
very, very similar. So they must have allowed for
For-
that kind of
yeah.
circumstance.
Okay, I thought that was our decision, not.
No, that
Okay,
is,
thanks for the
there are certain guidelines you have to meet with your procedure bylaw, and that is one of them that's
Okay.
already in the charter.
Thank you.
Are we discussing changes we want in the procedure bylaw right now?
Can do.
On page 62, 10C. The first named of any committee shall be the chair of that committee. I think this year we've kind of gotten away from committee chairs, haven't we? We've just decided that
Co-chair.
we'll have co-chairs.
Sorry, which, 110?
C.
10D, or
D.
C, sorry.
10C, yeah. Okay, so you're suggesting that that last part of that sentence be deleted?
Yeah, and if we have chair, then
Co-chair.
in anything, I'd like the man taken out of it, please.
Just chair.
No comment? Blink, blink.
Well, I was wondering whether that was gonna come up tonight, but
Well, 3 years ago at UBCM, the floor passed a motion to make all of these words gender neutral.
thank you. Anything further, changes made?
Oh, 17, page 65, 17A. I just didn't really understand the wording. Every council member who shall be present when a motion is put shall be expected to vote thereon unless they comes within the provisions of section 100 of the community charter. Who is they and?
That would be
Why
a
they
I will
call
double
them
check
conflict
that
of
language
interest.
and clarify it at the next meeting.
Thank you.
I didn't write that.
Uh-huh. And I think that was all the notes that I had. Were we thinking of adding meetings in July and August?
That was something that was discussed at the last or
No,
previous-
that was just a discussion you and I had. I had
Oh,
sent you an
okay.
email asking about it.
We had
I
a special
asked
meeting in
about
July,
it.
we're now having another special, we're having a special meeting later on this month. We're getting busier and busier every year, it seems. It's something the council may want to consider, is going to 2 meetings for July and August as well as the rest of the year. I think we should stick to 1 meeting in December just because of the holidays, but again, that's open to council suggestion.
We were doing just one in September because of UBCM, but maybe we could add one in August and take one away from September, I don't know. I did have one other thing that I forgot. Are we finished that?
If anyone has any other changes they'd like to recommend, yeah, we can do some more tonight, but if you get back to me with the changes before the next regular agenda, I won't put this on the special meeting for August 31st, but for our first September meeting, so that gives you several weeks to get back to me.
Okay. The last note I had was 10D on page 62. It was council members may attend the meetings of any of its committees. I think since this was written.
Oh, yes.
We found out
Legalities have
that-
changed
yeah.
since then. They can attend, but it needs to be clarified that only the committee members can speak. Otherwise, it becomes a council meeting.
Maybe a council meeting regardless.
Well, if only the 2 committee members are speaking, then it stays a committee meeting. But if
Okay.
any other council member participates, then it automatically becomes a council meeting because there's a majority of council present or participating. In which case, then we're in violation because we haven't advertised it as a council meeting, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay.
Just on 19C, at least 24 hours, 1 clear day must pass, was that?
That is in the Interpretation Act,
Okay.
which specifies in the community charter, it says 1 day. Many of the terms that they use in provincial legislation have specific meanings, and that is in the Interpretation Act. In the Interpretation Act, it says, when you mean 1 day between, that means 1 clear day, which means it can't be, give a 3rd reading at 7 o'clock on Monday night and then adopt at 7 o'clock on Tuesday night. 1 clear day means the entire 24 hours of Tuesday has to pass before you can adopt.
Oh.
So the earliest you could adopt would be Wednesday
Early
morning.
Wednesday morning, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Anything further? All in favor? Carried. And ministerial order 192. What's your pleasure on the recommendation? Do we have, a motion?
I'll move it to put it on the table.
Discussion?
We had discussed previously about moving to a bigger venue, such as the meeting room or even community hall. In the NDIT meetings, the TNRD has made changes. A lot of places have changed their venue to make it so that the public can be in attendance. When we originally discussed it, we were relatively new into the COVID-19 times and had no idea it was gonna last this long. And I don't think that I think we're going to be looking at least the end of the year and probably well into the new year before these limitations are gonna be lifted. And I don't think that we're serving our public in the best interest, not having the public, even though we don't get a lot of attendance. I really feel that we should have it so that it's an option for the public.
That was actually one of the triggers for getting the procedure bylaw on the agenda. In our procedure bylaw, it specifies that all regular council meetings happen in council chambers. So that's one of the changes we're proposing. Now, Ministerial Order 192 gives us the authority to override that provision, override our procedure bylaw in order to allow more public participation. We can't override it to allow less or to change anything else. So that's why we put this on the agenda tonight, to make council aware and to work out. I didn't know how we wanted to do this, whether council wanted to do this. If we proceed with this resolution, we then have to come up with a resolution explicitly stating the basis for holding meetings without members of the public in attendance. So we're doing so at this point because we are not set up to have members of the public in attendance at council meetings, because we will need to take names and contact information at the door for contact tracing. We'll have to have someone sanitizing the washrooms after every use.
I don't
all
believe it
that
has
kind
to
of
be
stuff.
after every use. I think there's a time frame
Clo-
if you look into it, but.
Okay.
Close the
I'll double
washrooms,
check
Or just
that.
close the washrooms, just say that there's
No
no
washrooms.
washrooms available.
Could do that too.
Yeah.
But again, that's the kind of thing that we need to discuss and get into the reasons why we're not doing, having open meetings. That we need to have an explicit resolution of council stating that's why we're not having that resolution, but also say that we're working toward getting members of the public being able to attend our
I
meetings.
personally would like to see us before our next council meeting.
I would like that too.
In place.
Need, in other words, to have possibly our annual meeting at the community hall.
Well, that one or the first meeting in September, depending on how long it's gonna take some time to get things in place. But
Yeah,
that's only, what, a week and a half, 2 weeks away.
the annual meeting's only a couple of weeks away.
Yeah,
Mhm.
but if we were to set a target of the annual meeting would be ideal if it's possible. But I think that perception of transparency, we need to make sure that we're very upfront with that. And let's say, for seeing this going on for quite some time, I think we have to look at alternate meeting venues.
Okay.
Well, we are conforming. We have the hub doing the online portion of our meeting, so that's getting out to the public.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
The TNRD has re-established their meetings at the, I forget the name of the place, Mayor.
Sandman Center?
Thank you.
I was gonna say
And-
Interior Savings, but I knew that wasn't right.
And at times, it's debatable whether that was, I think in my personal, the costs involved, whether that serves the public well. There's it's highly underutilized by the public. So in our case, I think that if we come up with a strategy where if they want to be in attendance, they can call the office, we can get their names beforehand, and we can limit the number of people that are able to come into this council chamber. If we have something that's going to dictate that we're going to need a bigger area because of an annual report or a specific meeting of some kind, then we can use the community hall. But to uproot and go down to the community hall for the sake of doing it because of COVID-19, based on what we're getting history-wise, people coming to our council chambers, it doesn't make any sense.
Okay, well, maybe if we were to publicize that if the public isn't wanting, because I believe that's what the Village of Ashcroft is doing, they have to pre-register. Am I correct in that? No? No? Or do you have you opened up to the public? Sorry, yeah.
But physical distancing.
Yeah, with physical.
Yeah.
Yeah, and only 2 members of the public and up to 2 media, so we could have 1 media and 3 members of the public.
So it's like
Your council chambers are quite a bit bigger than ours, aren't they?
yeah.
Longer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, because the only concern with the videotaping is that not everybody has access to the computer.
There's computers in the library system. If they want to find out what's going on, they can find the information. They can get a copy of our agenda. There's many different ways.
Okay, there's a motion but no second.
Oh.
Seconded, even on the floor.
Lisa and I were battling it out.
Ah, okay.
We both got the first syllable out and then quit.
Anything further? All in favor?
Okay, so I will have a draft resolution for our next meeting as to what we're doing and why we're doing it.
Subdivision and Development Services Standards and Bylaws. We're up for discussion on the consulting services of True Engineering, specifically Dave Underwood, revising our subdivision control bylaw number 320, 1984. Go ahead.
We have a number of developments happening. One very serious subdivision, another more or less at the inquiry stage, and another one that is on and off again. But those are all 3 subdivisions that have shown interest for putting in a subdivision in Cache Creek. Now, our bylaw, as the mayor just pointed out, is from 1984. Standards have changed a lot since then. What True has proposed here, and I talked it over with Dave before this came to council, is adopting what are called Master Municipal Construction Documents, MMCD for short. They are the standard by which contractors now expect to put in subdivision servicing. And it also means that if we structure the bylaw properly, that we would not have to make changes or significant changes down the road, because we would just word the bylaw such that we follow the most recent version of the Master Municipal Construction Documents. Now, that being said, not all portions of those documents are applicable to Cache Creek, and there may be some special circumstances in Cache Creek that the NMCD don't cover, because it is just a general set of documents. So that's why we need a company like True, who is familiar with our municipality, to put together a bylaw like that with those additional items that the NMCD would not cover. Their proposed cost for doing this is, I believe, $26,000, and that amount is in the budget for doing this.
It is in the budget?
It is in the budget.
1984 was a really good year.
It was a long time ago.
I can still remember it like it was yesterday. Ken, also, we can't, it's not like a OCP, we can't stipulate what we want to see in it. Like, don't build on the floodplains and.
Well, that floodplain designation is actually the zoning bylaw. However, it does kick in, obviously, with subdivision, because prior to starting construction, you also have to meet zoning requirements. But you can specify certain things that you want to see in your subdivision control bylaw as well.
Okay.
That's why you need a company like True, because there will always be, every municipality has some uniqueness that the NMCD don't cover.
So they're suggesting using the Town of Oliver bylaw as a template, and then it would be built to suit us.
Yes.
Okay. Because there's things in there I didn't like, but. But, so.
It would be coming back to council probably more than once for
Yeah.
consideration.
The task description, the only thing that I could, would like to see in there is the conformability to the asset management program and initiatives that we have with the Village of Ashcroft, that they're easily transferable to our system, for the lack of better terms. That may save a considerable amount of time.
Yes.
Do you want a motion to proceed on with,
Yes, please. Sorry,
Okay.
there should have been a recommendation there. I don't know how that got missed.
okay. We'll have a motion on the floor to engage with True Engineering to do the consulting services for upgrading our standards and our subdivision servicing standards and bylaw
Second.
for $26,000 plus GST. Any further discussion? All in favor? Thank you.
More EV chargers. Make them part of the subdivisions.
Public Works and Community Facilities. I'd like to make a motion to move pursuant to section 90.1 and 91.2, to move that discussion to the in-camera portion of tonight's meeting.
Second?
Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Is-
Carried, thank you. Villages Services and Liaison, Councilor Defoe, Councilor Coomber.
Do we have to declare a conflict in this, or is it, because it considers a financial aspect to it?
That's it.
We don't have to warn
Yeah.
Really?
We have a quorum?
I don't see that
Wendy,
this is a
you were-
conflict of interest. I just don't see it as a conflict of interest, just because one member of the fire department is in relationship, now the whole fire department cannot use the coverall for barbecue. That's a department of our
Yeah.
village.
The
The
They
issue
provide
is
a
not
good
that.
service.
The issue is not that. The conflict of interest is that the mayor is in a relationship with the person who's asking for it. And the council is the daughter, and then
That's not the person
Defoe
who
is
asked
the,
for that.
Defoe is the one who's the mayor.
They're asking on behalf of the entire fire department.
It's better.
Yes.
So they're not asking for themselves, they're asking for the fire department. However, there are legal precedents where if a group that you or someone you are related to is a part of a group that you are considering providing a financial benefit to, then you are in conflict of interest.
Financial benefit from a barbecue.
No.
Well, the
Yeah, I'm
financial
afraid
benefit
It's
is
best to
that
just
they are
move forward.
requesting free use of the coverall. That's the financial benefit. The fire
And-
department
yeah.
would not have to pay that money.
And the damage deposit or whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's all right, let's just move forward. We don't need to discuss it, we just can
Well,
make a
I think it
decision,
needs to
really.
be
I
clear
think
because
it needs
it's,
to be discussed and your
because
understanding
it's
point is
something that
not
doesn't normally
quite
happen.
working.
So I
Yeah,
think everybody,
no, that's
especially
right.
since we're reporting this, I think the public
Yes.
needs to know what's going on with this.
Mm.
And that is the reason why. I feel that it's,
So.
to be honest with you, I feel that it's silly.
But let me ask
that
you
is
one
the legal
question.
precedent.
If this request would have come from the fire chief,
It's
would
still,
it make any difference?
no, it would not make any difference.
Because I think we are getting into semantics here.
It would not make any difference no matter who wrote the letter. If they're writing on behalf of the fire department, 3 members of council are in relationships one way or another with 2 members of the fire department, that puts them in a conflict.
So I have a question. How much do we normally charge to rent this coverall?
Yeah, that is under current bylaw. Thank you for that. If the number of council members remaining after anyone in conflict of interest leaves the council and is insufficient to carry a resolution, a court order may be applied for, which would give authority to the remaining council members to carry on the business in question. Obviously, we can't get a court order tonight. Thank you for that.
Okay, I will make a motion that council grant the fire department free use of the coverall and waive the damage deposit for September 13, 2020.
As corporate officer, I'm gonna have to say that the motion is out of order because there's not a quorum of council at this point.
Then it's out there. What do we normally charge as rent for the coverall? I didn't know that we even charged for it.
I think there's a damage deposit.
I asked the CAO.
And I'm sorry, I don't have the number there. It should have been on the agenda and I missed that.
I've never seen a figure for it
To be
anywhere.
honest with you, I don't remember it either, but there is one. We changed our rates and fees for a number of things, including airborne. And at that same time, that's one of the other ones that we added in there.
What do we normally charge the fire department when they do the Easter egg hunt?
We don't charge them for that because that's the park, not the coverall.
Well, they've used the coverall in the past.
If they don't book it for exclusive use, then there's no charge.
Okay.
If they just want to use it, any member of the public can use that facility. But that also means if you want to have something in there, any other member of the public can go in there as well.
Mhm. Okay. Is there any further discussion on this?
Obviously not.
Then we're done.
So what's this, are we allowing them or not? What's the story?
We can't at this point because there is not a quorum to carry the resolution.
And they want to do this on September 13th. So we won't have a quorum to allow them to do that before the September 13th. So is there an issue of not allowing them to have it, or?
I would advise them just not to book it. They will fill the coverall with their barbecue and nobody's going to, nobody in their right mind.
I wouldn't think anybody would.
That would be the best way for them to proceed at this point, yes.
Okay. That's it?
And if anyone is interested, I do have the legal newsletter that had that information about nonprofit groups that you or someone you're related to is a member, a party to, or a member of. So let me
There's
know if you
something
want to see
new?
that.
Or just in the newsletter?
It's something that I just became aware of, but has actually been out there for a while.
Okay. Thank you.
So,
We think you should combine it with the Easter egg hunt.
No, what was the outcome?
Well,
The outcome was, because there was no quorum, we could not carry any kind of resolution. Therefore, the advice that I'm going to be giving to the fire department is, it's an open public facility. If you want to use it, go ahead.
Perfect, thank you.
If you want to book it for your exclusive use, you'll have to pay that fee.
and we'll need a ministerial order.
Well, if we want to pass a resolution where there is not a quorum of council present, we have to get a court order to.
Right.
Administrative order.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
It might be something we wanna put into place.
Pardon me?
It might be something we wanna put into place, because every time the fire department comes up for discussion, this is gonna happen.
But it's gonna
I don't
have to
think
be
you can
done
have
each time.
something that generic.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Hmm.
Might be worth looking into if there's something we can do though.
I agree, just to see whether there is anything. I don't,
We can always ask Mayor Roden if we could host it down in, somewhere in their facility. If
Yeah.
it doesn't work here.
That's rather insulting.
Okay. Okay, protective services, myself and Councillor Conger.
I have one thing.
Okay,
The select committee, or maybe it's a standing committee for emergency management, that's Councillor Peters and myself, will be meeting with a few members, representatives from the area to discuss, to brainstorm for some flood mitigation ideas later this week. I think there'll be 6 or 7 of us. There'll be, I'm hoping, we invited reps from Bonaparte Indian Band, TNRD, Finro, and I think you and I. I should reach out to that email about teaching. Oh, yeah. I didn't want too many people in here because then we're gonna have to start thinking about social distancing. So, yeah, it's just, like I said, it's just an informal brainstorming session, after which hopefully we'll have the start of a list that we can bring back to council and follow up further on.
thank you. Anything further?
I have nothing else.
Right. Just thinking of the second wave of COVID-19, maybe we can have staff look at procurement of some of the necessities that may be in high demand, and start looking into it now. Gloves, respirators, etc., that we may need on hand.
White mouth lids.
Wide mouth lids.
White mouth lids.
Yes, of course.
already in the works.
All right, thank you. There's some activity up at the Honor Ranch. They have some military personnel up there doing some clearing, fencing,
Ah, is that what they were
and
doing?
other things that they need. There's quite a number of them up there trying to get things moving on that important project in our area.
I saw them coming through on Thursday and I thought, what the heck? So now I know. Yes, good.
Okay, anything further on protective services? Intergovernmental relations, myself and Councillor Coonberg.
I have nothing on that.
Okay, thank you. I have nothing to report. And we're on to information correspondence.
None?
New business?
Oh, just one minor thing. BC Hydro will be starting a program to replace all of their street lighting with LED lighting.
Yay.
In town?
Yes.
When?
Well, they'll be starting later on this year, but I think from the wording in the letter that I was sent, it will be a multi-year project. It's,
Great.
the lights themselves are a little bit pricey, it's getting them installed is the expensive part, so it won't, I don't think it's gonna be happening all at once.
So how much are we paying of this?
Well, all we pay for is the electricity use.
Oh, okay, so BC Hydro is footing the bill for the light fixtures.
That's right, it's a new federal government requirement.
So how many light centers do we own that aren't funded by Hydro?
Well, they'll replace the ones that we are responsible for directly. They are responsible for the ones that are on the wooden poles. The ornamental ones we're responsible for, but they will be replacing those as well.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Should send them a Christmas card.
And that will follow suit somewhere along the line if we have any high pressure or mercury halide, or we've gone to high pressure sodium. So we'll be making that change as well, I'm sure, if we have any high pressure sodium.
But anytime we put in new lighting, it's LED lighting.
Perfect. Yes,
I-
CFO Christina?
Yeah, I have one issue, and it's quite an issue that bothers me. Last week, I have sent out collection letters, reminder letters, not collection, where the residents showed the outstanding balance and calculated penalty. The businesses didn't show the penalty, but it was